I've thought about doing a rundown of an anime or a manga for a while now, but I thought that if I was going to do one, it would be over something like Jujutsu Kaisen, which is my favorite manga of all time. I never thought that I would do it on Dandadan, probably because I hadn't read it until 2 days before I started the script. But I'll tell you right now that Dandadan has officially tied Jujutsu Kaisen as my favorite manga of all time. Ken Takakura, also known as Okurun, is a socially awkward nerd. He doesn't have any friends and is nearly constantly bullied. Momo Ayase is an outspoken and vulgar girl, but she has a strong sense of justice and won't stand to see others hurt. By sheer chance, the two of them meet and instantly their interests clash. They begin to debate the supernatural. See, Okurun believes in aliens and cryptids. Momo believes in ghosts and spirits, and both think that the other is an absolute moron for believing that. So, a bet is made. Okurun will go to a haunted tunnel, and Momo will go to a building where UFOs are sighted, both intent on proving the other's beliefs are wrong. Except that doesn't happen. Okurun walks into the tunnel and... Meanwhile, Momo is walking through the abandoned building, and that's where our story begins. Okurun becomes possessed by the spirit of the Turbo Granny, and Momo is kidnapped by the aliens. While hostage, they reveal that they're going to use her to essentially repopulate their race, but while they're trying to brainwash her, accidentally awaken powerful psychic abilities. Now, if Momo doesn't keep Okurun within sight at all times, the spirit within him will go berserk. But she can release just enough that he can utilize the power, and this is how they're going to fight. Their lives have been completely turned upside down. Aliens are hunting Momo, Turbo Granny is fighting for control of Okurun, and the entire time his cock and balls are gone. Hold on, I promise this is important. The reason why Turbo Granny can't be exorcised is because she stole Okurun's cock. Yeah, so if you didn't think so already, I should probably tell you now. Dandadan is fucking insane. Do you know how much of the manga I just described to you? That was the first chapter. Not the first arc, the first chapter. You cannot predict what is going to happen in Dandadan, and honestly, I think it's amazing. This is Momo's grandma. She's a powerful spirit medium and psychic, capable of exorcising spirits. So what do you think she looks like under that mask? Because I guarantee you that you didn't think of this. Dandadan will set up stereotypical tropes and then throw you a left hook out of nowhere, and it's incredible. The Loch Ness Monster turns their school into water. Turbo Granny turns into a tiny cat. They fight Beethoven at one point. The insanity of this manga just doesn't stop. If any other series were to do the things that Dandadan does, I would stop reading it. I would say, this is too silly, I cannot take this seriously. My suspension of disbelief would be shattered, and I would not be able to continue. But in Dandadan, they fight a giant off-brand Godzilla that can turn invisible by building a giant Buddha mech out of their house and piloting it like a Voltron robot. And you know what I say? I say, holy shit, that's fucking awesome. For some reason, it all just works. It doesn't matter how goofy, how insane, how absolutely stupid something in this manga is. It always makes sense in the context of the series, and I think that that's because of the characters. In a lot of anime and manga, the main characters always seem to have a grip on things. Take Jujutsu Kaisen, for example, my favorite series of all time. I'll admit, it has this problem really badly. When Yuji finds out that curses are real, there's no fear. You get like 4 lines where he talks about how scared he is, and then he just accepts it. This completely shatters his worldview. It changes his life forever in the worst way, and he just doesn't mention it. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that in a lot of media, strange occurrences need to be accepted by the characters so the story can move forward. But in Dandadan, everything works even though it's so strange because the characters think the same way as us. When an evil spirit invades their home, Okurun and Momo don't go, "Ugh, this guy is so tough, we're gonna have to use our forbidden technique to defeat it." They run away screaming. These characters are written so fucking well. Okurun slowly begins to come out of his shell, slowly becoming more and more popular and becoming more confident in himself. Momo's spiky exterior gets worn down, eventually accepting Okurun and even creating a blossoming romance. This dumb bitch that only cares about her image eventually becomes best friends with them, sacrificing her popularity to be around people that she likes. Turbo Granny becomes one of the funniest characters in the whole series and decides to help them out. Everyone is so lovable, downtime between fights becomes just as entertaining as the fights themselves. These dumb fuckers argue constantly, scream and curse at each other, they cry, they smile and laugh, and they feel like people. They do dumb shit that I would do. They wake up to piss in the middle of the night. The story doesn't skip past it. It doesn't ignore the casual lives of these people living in the middle of a fucking D&D campaign run by a psychopath. The relationships, the nicknames, every new face introduced has something lovable about them. Remember earlier when I talked about Dandadan demolishing stereotypes? Let me introduce Gigi, Momo's childhood friend. When he's introduced, it seems like he's stealing Momo away from Okurun. It hurts to watch. Okurun begins to retract back into that shell he was in at the beginning of the series, doubting that he's good enough for her. Gigi smiles at him, talks with him, but the whole time it feels like an act. And then Momo leaves them alone for a while. She walks out the door, and it's just Okurun and Gigi. And in any other series, what do you think would happen? A fight? An argument? A final confrontation for love? Well, not in Dandadan. In Dandadan, Gigi asks if Okurun wants to play soccer. And that's when it all clicks. He's just a good person. He likes Momo, but he's just a friend. And he's Okurun's friend too. It's not an act, it's not a ploy, it's not setting up a rival or a love triangle, he's just a genuinely good dude. Dandadan is probably the only series that balances action and romance well. I don't read Jujutsu Kaisen for a romance plot, I read it for the insane fights. I don't read Chunibyo for the action, I read it for the adorable romance of these cute characters. I read Dandadan for both. The fights are intense, high-energy battles to the death. Action is beautifully conveyed, every hit has weight behind it. The lines are easy to follow, and you can see every movement of not just the characters, but the objects around them too. And the interactions are funny and cute, charming. To watch people change and become better, more outgoing versions of themselves while still remaining true to who they are. In a single issue, you'll find the most beautifully drawn panel of a character, detailed and wonderful, just to turn the page and be presented by an incredible mid-combat scene, beams of energy and punches flying left and right, just to turn the page and see one of the most hauntingly terrifying creatures you could imagine. The art is amazing, Yukinobu Tatsu creating panels that flow naturally into one another and bringing the whole page to life. His renditions of aliens, cryptids, and ghosts, all horrifying in their own unique way. Every character is drawn in excruciating detail, every single panel. It doesn't matter if the least important shit in the whole series is happening, you better believe it looks amazing. Characters in the background that have absolutely no bearing on the story, even a little, who never get named, who might not even be real, are drawn to be unique. Drawn to feel alive, and I cannot imagine the amount of time that this takes, but it is worth it. Reading Dandadan is a fucking experience. Jujutsu Kaisen might still be my favorite manga, but I can't deny that Dandadan is objectively the best manga I've ever read. It just nails everything. The characters, the art, the fights, the story, the absolute utter insanity of this series. I'm on the edge of my seat waiting for every issue, and I really hope that I convinced you to read it, because Dandadan might just be perfect.